Well, breaking news, the newest member of the New Orleans Saints is Derek Carr. They go out and get the biggest free agent quarterback who is definitely on the market, because there's, maybe some bigger ones who could be on the market. But as of right now, Derek Carr, the one who we knew was on the market. Saints aren't waiting around to see if Aaron Rodgers becomes available. They get their guy with Derek Carr. And as a Buccaneers fan, I am kind of devastated. I'm not going to lie, because I love Derek Carr and I don't love the New Orleans Saints. So this is a bummer for me. But, I think, if you've watched this channel for a while and you've watched my take on the Saints, I have a ton of respect for their organization and the way that they're run and just for the smart decisions that they make. And I think that this is very, very much an interesting decision, because there's several ways that you could take it. On one hand, and we don't know the contract details yet. That's unfortunate. It's weird, because the news broke about an hour ago. I was waiting for the contract details to come out. Still hasn't happened. So eventually we'll get those and we'll figure it out. But the most details we've gotten about the contract is Rappaport said the Saints are giving their new quarterback, Derek Carr, a 4-year deal with a big quarterback number coming, and they'll make it work with their cap situation. So, first off, some people are going to ask, how did they get this money? They actually have cash. That's something that I made a video about. Where do the Saints go from here? What's the strategic moves that they do here? I can't remember if it's been posted or not. So if it hasn't been, then it's very much outdated at this point. But one of the things that I talked about in that is that just because they don't have a ton of cap space doesn't mean they can't go out and spend. They had a decent amount of actual cash available, so they can make this move work, and they can just push the cap down the road, which is what they typically do, because, there's no point where you have to pay it off by a certain point. There's no expiration date. It's basically a credit card, but it runs on reverse interest, so you might as well do that, and that's what the Saints do, and they do it very well. The question, though, is you still only have so much cash to spend, right? While the cap is kind of a fluke, the cash still is real. Teams only have so much cash that they can spend each year, and if you're paying $35 million, let's say, that's just a guess, for Derek Carr, will he be able to take you to the promised land and win you a Super Bowl? It's a question, right? Because that's the goal. The goal is to win a Super Bowl. What this has done is it's basically guaranteed they're going to win the division. I can't imagine they do not win the division now. They're clear front runners. It's a weak division, obviously, but unless the Panthers go out and get Lamar Jackson, or the Falcons get Lamar Jackson, or I guess the Buccaneers get Lamar Jackson, the Saints are going to win this division unless another team can get a good quarterback. They clearly have the quarterback advantage. I think him throwing to Chris Olave is exciting. It's definitely the more fun option. If you're a Saints fan, you're having fun. That's just the first thing you do. You have fun. Who cares? Maybe we won't win a Super Bowl this year. We weren't going to win a Super Bowl if we kept with Jameis Winston. So clearly you're happy that you have a better chance of, you're clearly division favorites. It's your division again. That's kind of the way that I see it. It's the Saints. This NFC South belongs to the Saints once again with this Derek Carr signing. But it's true where there is a reason the Raiders got rid of Carr. Carr is someone who if you pay him good money, it is hard to compete with some of these other quarterbacks who are significantly better. As much as I like Carr, he's not Patrick Mahomes. And when you're paying him close to Patrick Mahomes' money, you have to gain value in other areas, which is just really difficult to do. And that's kind of one of the issues that the Saints potentially have. Although maybe one of the ways they can gain value is by just spending over the cap, which is what they typically do. So that way, maybe they're spending $35 million on a quarterback, but maybe their owner will say, you know what, we're going to spend $35 million more in cash than every other team this year. And just like that, it's like you're paying him nothing. So that's kind of where things get a little bit interesting there. So that's a potential way you could do it. But still, I think it's fair to say that the teams that typically win the Super Bowl or even go to the Super Bowl, typically, there are exceptions, but typically it's either teams with quarterbacks on rookie deals or it's teams that have quarterbacks who play elite in the playoffs. And, it doesn't always have to be a Patrick Mahomes. It can be a Matthew Stafford, who I wouldn't call an elite quarterback, but he was elite in the postseason. And maybe Carr could be one of those guys. Carr is someone who's known for coming through in the big moments, and one of the points I remember is the time when he was against the Saints with the Raiders that one year that he was an MVP candidate. I believe it was week 1 where they were down 7, score a touchdown, go for 2 and get it, and now he's on now he wins the game. It's a very interesting move. Carr's an interesting player, and it does just make you wonder where the Saints could go from here. But it feels like the strategy, which isn't a terrible one, I don't think, is let's go out, let's get the best quarterback available, and let's hope that we can get into the playoffs that way, and then he can play his best football come postseason time. The Rams did it with Stafford, and they won a Super Bowl, and the Rams gave up 2 first-round picks. To me, Carr and Stafford are in the same tier. I know some people like Stafford more. Stafford, I guess you could put him, he's in a higher tier because he won the Super Bowl. But pre-trade with Stafford and pre-trade with Carr, to me, they're in the same tier. Here's the one other hiccup, I would say, for if you're a Saints fan, the one thing you're maybe a little concerned, Carr not coming off his best year. And we just saw Russell Wilson get traded after not coming off his best year, and people said, it's 1 year, he's, he'll be fine, and then he wasn't. Now, again, that's one example. There's plenty of examples of guys having bad years and working out. One example I think about would be Drew Brees, right? You can definitely make a Drew Brees comparison here of, I think sometimes people forget, Brees was not what we know him now when he was with the Chargers. Brees was a solid player. He was probably around Derek Carr, and he kind of got put in the perfect situation. The rest is history. He's, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. He's, obviously was incredible. Is Derek Carr going to be Drew Brees? No, that's not safe to assume, but you can definitely make the comparisons of Carr and Brees for sure, and it's just an interesting decision. Yes, Carr is coming off of a bit of a down year, but you know what? I kind of like this move. I do. I know that I'm typically someone who says, here is my, here's my, I have a chart of like how much you should pay a quarterback for how much wins they add. And while we don't know the details just yet of how much exactly he's making, I promise he's making over where that chart is of, a quarterback who will get you about 2.5 wins. You probably can only pay like around $10 million a year, just the way the chart works. You basically need a rookie deal for that caliber of quarterback, or just find value somewhere else. That's kind of the way the chart works. I think it might be closer to $15 million a year. But I'm assuming Carr is going to get paid more than that. But at the same time, it's really hard to find a guy who's works on that chart. It really is. It's hard to find an elite quarterback. It's hard to find a, still 2.3 win quarterback on a rookie deal, that kind of stuff. That's hard to do. The Saints aren't going to be able to do that this year. They're just not. That's not an option on the table. So why not go out and get a guy who could just be the best quarterback available, and then you hope you get the value somewhere else, similar to what the Rams did, because, there still are times when this guy does win a Super Bowl. It's less common, but it still is possible, and it's better than going in and, just having a quarterback who can't win a Super Bowl at all. So, and you're going to win a division probably. So, hey, get into the playoffs, anything can happen. Yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.